In the early 1990s, residents of a small town in northern New Mexico began reporting something unusual. A sound, low, continuous, or intermittent, often described as a hum, a drone, or a vibration. It wasn't heard by everyone, though. It wasn't easy to record, and it didn't point to a single, obvious source. What made it unusual wasn't just the sound itself, but the fact that investigations would follow and still never fully resolve why some people heard it and other people did not. Welcome to the evidence gap. The reports came from Taos, New Mexico, and its surrounding areas. Those who heard the sound described it in similar ways as a low-frequency hum, often more noticeable at night, sometimes felt as much as heard. You know how that you can feel that low frequency, which made it difficult to localize. Some described it as mechanical. Others described it as distant. Some couldn't escape it indoors. Others never heard it at all. Now, importantly, this wasn't a single witness story. It was a pattern of reports consistent enough that local authorities eventually had to take notice. As reports continued, formal investigations were conducted. State agencies commissioned studies, scientists used microphones, spectrum analyzers, and environmental sensors. Surveys were conducted among the residents. Some low-frequency sounds were detected, but no single source was identified that would be able to explain the geographic clustering or account for why only some people perceived it and others didn't, or fully match the reported experience. The investigations themselves were real, the methods were standard, and yet the results never converged on a clear answer. So over time, several explanations were offered. Some pointed to industrial or mechanical sources, distant, far-off machinery or infrastructure or power systems. Others' ideas suggested geological or atmospheric effects, where low-frequency vibrations travel long distances under specific conditions. There were also physiological explanations, including hypotheses related to hearing sensitivity or low-frequency tinnitus, you know, that ringing in your ears? Each explanation addressed part of the phenomenon, but none explained it. For instance, why the sound appeared localized, why it persisted over long periods, or why it was consistently perceived by some and not at all by others. The explanations overlapped, but they never fully aligned. This is where the Taos Hum becomes less about sound and more about perception. Human hearing is not uniform. Sensitivity to low-frequency sound varies widely. Environmental context matters. Low-frequency vibrations have, how should I say, they behave differently than higher frequency noise. They can be difficult to measure, difficult to isolate, and difficult to even describe. Now, this doesn't mean that the experience isn't real. It means that shared measurement becomes harder when perception itself is part of the equation, right? This is where the gap appears. People were reporting a consistent experience. Investigations were conducted seriously, instruments detected something, but not everything. The gap isn't between belief and skepticism in this case. It's between what people experience and what instruments can isolate. How do you evaluate a phenomenon that is persistent, is reported consistently, and yet resists clean measurement or classification? That question remains unresolved. This isn't mass delusion, it's not paranormal activity, and it's certainly not a hoax. But it's also not a failure of science. This is an example of something quiet, where experience and explanation never fully overlap. Science works best when phenomena can be shared, measured, and especially repeated. But some experiences exist at the margins of that process, not because they're imaginary, but because translating perception into data isn't always straightforward. Sometimes the uncertainty isn't caused by missing evidence. It's caused by the difficulty of turning lived experience into something that can be universally measured, which clearly leaves us in the evidence gap.